Hi, friends. We're live. We're going to talk about something I'm super excited to talk to you about today, an entirely new region of the world. For those of you who are interested in Europe on a budget, or more than that, I don't know if I'm minimizing. I don't want to minimize the region to Europe on a budget. So let me just say, we're going to talk about a region that we haven't talked about on this channel, if not ever, definitely in quite a while, with my super special guest. My channel is my name is Stephanie Perry, and I am the creator of House Sitter School and the co-creator of Exodus Summit. And I help Black women bop around the world as a nomad, or just move abroad to a new place, or take sabbaticals and career breaks out of the US to another place so that you can embrace ease, so that you can enjoy the lifestyle that you really want for yourself. And if you're interested in those things, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. We'll wait while you do that. Thank you. Okay. And then turn on notifications, ring the notification bell. You'll be notified when I post a new video or when I go live with a special guest. Hi, special guest.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on this channel. I've been following you for a long time, so it's quite an honor and just surreal to be here on the other side being part of this interview.
I'm super excited to talk with you. So friends, meet Blair, who is Blair in Belgrade on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever. Meet Blair. Blair, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are.
Good. So, hi, everyone. My full name is Angela Blair, but I prefer to go by Blair. I am American from Massachusetts. I left the States about 11 years ago. And I did not imagine myself 11 years later just living this whole expat lifestyle, which began as a grad student and just bopping around the world as an English teacher to really start off. So, yeah, the last 11 years have been such a whirlwind of bopping. And I think you should really coin that term, bopping around the world.
Yeah. It's mine.
Yes. And I've been to a lot of cool and interesting, I guess, unusual places. And teaching English is really the way I got started. I'm single, child-free, no pets, not even a plant. So it's just very easy for me to just pack up my stuff and move. And I actually just moved to a new place. So I'm really, really excited. Just new energy, new place, a lot of new things. So yeah, I hope in this call we can talk about, I guess, more of like Serbia and my journey, because I just didn't move from Boston to Belgrade. A lot of people ask me why. No, I was living in a lot of different places.
Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about the journey.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about your life in Serbia, in Belgrade.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about you having a business in Serbia, because
Yes.
I don't know that I can't remember the last time I've talked to anyone who actually had a business in the place, right? A lot of women who live abroad make their money still in the US, right? Having to do something online or something.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to talk about that, having a business that is located in Serbia, in Belgrade. And then like traveling around that region. We're going to cover a whole lot today. We're going to cover a lot. All right, we're going to cover a whole lot. Friends, if you're new here, you have to say good morning, or not if you're new here. Everyone here, say good morning. Christy's Corner says, I love Croatia, and would actually go back. Okay, good. We're going to talk about that region. Nadine, good morning. Good morning, Mrs. G. Good morning, Yolanda, locating cozy. Good morning, Celeste. And that girl, and Cindy, and Erica Dinero TV, and Emma. Hey, everybody. Hey, oh, how old is too old to leave the States? Dead, too old. It's too old. It's too late. We are going to, we're going to talk about this area because Europe is appealing to a lot of women in this community, except for the price tag. So another thing that we're going to talk about is what are the benefits of being in the Balkans and being in Serbia and in being in Belgrade, particularly. And what are the benefits beyond the price tag, beyond the lower cost of living?
Great. Okay. There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
So where to begin? So I came to Belgrade June 1st, 2022.
Okay.
And I was living in Paris and I had my own startup. So my journey is from like teaching English to being a business owner. That's how I've been able to navigate the world or just live this whole lifestyle.
Can you tell me what you mean by teaching English? So you had a TOEFL certification and you were teaching English online, or what were you doing?
So when I was, okay, let me go back. When I was doing my graduate studies, I knew that I wanted to, and I was doing my graduate studies in Israel. So while I was doing my master's, I got my certificate to teach English because that's how I planned to be able to support myself.
Okay.
And I landed a teaching job, my first big girl teaching job at 25 in Bangkok. I was teaching at this private business prep school, and they gave me housing because they gave housing to foreign teachers. So it was great because I was like in the heart of the financial district in Bangkok while teaching. So anytime I was teaching was always in a school.
Okay. Teaching in a school,
Yes.
teaching English in Bangkok, and these were two adults. It was a business school. Was
It
this a
was a
school?
high school, actually. It was a high school.
Hmm.
So it was from like 7:30 to 4 every day. It was like a real type, again, big girl job. I paid taxes. I had my work permit. I had my visa. And as a teacher, I had a lot of flexibility after my work. Bangkok, if you've been there, you know it's a very early city. Like people start the day very early. And after work, I had a lot of freedom just to explore. So there is a big expat community in Bangkok. So there I was just able to, I started a cosmetics business. I networked a lot. I had like my own afternoon tea network where I had women in business, local and expats to meet together over afternoon tea. That's one of my other passion projects I do. So being abroad, it was always being in like a proper institution to teach. And then my free time, I did my business, I did my hobbies, I network and had tea parties.
So that is the thing about living abroad. You get time to live a full life, right? In Massachusetts, do you think if you had left, if you graduated and then gone back to Massachusetts and gotten a job, would you have had the opportunity to start also to do the cosmetics business? It's hard to see the
Yeah,
alternate.
this life I would not be able to do in Massachusetts. And it really would be reserved for really privileged women that had all that time and flexibility. And also, it's an amazing privilege to be an American abroad because many people think we just have money. So I walked into hotels, 5-star hotels. I'm like, I want to do this. And like, roll out the red carpet for me. So
Yeah.
it was just a perfect place and time in my life. And many businesses are open when Americans want to do business in a place. We have that respect of bringing clients. They like our ideas and they're happy to work with us as long as we can deliver and make sales and make them look good on Instagram and on Google reviews.
Really important point. That's a really important point. I always say that the only time I really feel American is when I'm out of the United States, because that's when you feel that American privilege, it is real. And it's the only time you really get to feel it. So you're saying that you could do things because you're American in these other countries that maybe other people couldn't, that, it gave you an advantage.
Absolutely. People, I mean, one thing, I'm not anti-American. I'm just pro like living my best life. And that privilege I'm going to absolutely use in many of the countries that I live in. So being an American, there's chambers of commerce. So for those that know, like if you have a business, it's good to register with like a local chamber of commerce.
Okay.
And they help American business owners. And then you have all these organizations that really promote business and networking. So in Bangkok, I went to a lot of internations, meetup groups. And once you meet people and you say, hey, I'm here as a business owner, not as an English teacher only, because there's a lot of English teachers.
Yeah.
And in that world, okay, you teach English, especially at international school, you're just very in that bubble. But for me, I've always been like business savvy and oriented and just want to network.
Yeah, okay, good. And you don't find with networking in other places, you don't find that people are um, like people aren't so being viewed as an American and outside of the world is different than being viewed as being a Black American person inside of the United States
Oh,
can
it's
be
very different. Very
right
different.
a hindrance to starting new things.
Yeah, because Americans, we're known as being very optimistic, being risk takers, and we have big brands like Coca-Cola, Facebook, all these companies that with American innovation. So many cultures are much more risk adverse. So when they see an American come in, and many American companies or British companies are in these countries, they know, okay, so this American, if you came this far as American and you're starting your business, you have to have some type of success because it's not easy to be a business owner in a foreign country. So
Right.
being the English teacher and my little business on the side, it gives a different realm of respect. Let's just
Okay. For someone who's not really interested in running her own business, but her
Mhm.
ears did perk up when you said you were an English teacher in
Yes.
Bangkok and it
Yes.
was good life. Um, is that something that you would say is for someone who is already teaching in the US, or is it something that someone who is not yet teaching in the US but might like to start would would it be worthwhile for her as well?
Absolutely. Like if you're not business oriented and you just want to go the teaching route, I definitely say go for it, especially if you're a licensed teacher in your state. So that means you can teach at international schools where it requires you to be a licensed teacher in English, mathematics, social study, or history. So you can make more money. And I will be honest, I was making $1,000 a month as an English teacher in Bangkok. That's not a lot, but I had my own housing. I lived in the financial district. I used the public transportation to get around. And even my little business on the side, I was able to pay off my private student loan, about $5,000, because I put my salary towards my debt, and anything left over I made for my company. So if you want to go the teaching route, I really push people to do that, because a lot of schools abroad do recruit American teachers, Canadian teachers, South African teachers, British teachers, Australian, New Zealand teachers to teach in their schools. And you have a lot of countries that have their own institutions and schools that want to recruit from abroad. So this could be a solid route if you want to live abroad.
Okay. All right, good. Teachers, you hear it. You heard it. Teachers, I think, have like some of the, they have, it's easier for teachers to make a quick exit from the US, I think, than
Mhm.
some other people, because for that exact reason. If you're already a teacher and you want to make an exit from the US, if you've decided this is your last
Mhm.
semester or your last school year teaching in the United States, teaching at an international school might be a good way to make a quick exit, to get into a new country, to get like established in a new country. And sometimes
Mhm.
international school teachers get
They get
accommodation.
paid really well,
Mhm.
really well. If you went go to those top tier international schools, I mean, you have your salary, you have the housing, and if you want to bring your family, some schools want couples and families to move, and you can make good money and save. I've had some friends that done that. One friend went to South Korea. They
Mhm.
pay really well. And also in Asia, at least in the Middle East, you have the respect because people respect that you're a teacher. I mean, kids are kids everywhere, but it's just like, oh wow, you're a teacher, you're sharing knowledge, you're giving that knowledge. So I know in the US a lot of teachers are like scared, they're disrespected, there's a lot of class management problems, but in many countries, like, you, the authority of a teacher, and I made sure my my students were scared of me as teacher Angela. I'm not here to be your friend, I want you to learn. And a lot of other teachers like really appreciate that. Like I took my students' phone at the beginning of class, I made them focus and concentrate. I gave them a lot of homework. Some of them, were tired, but they did learn. And the administration really appreciate, especially as an American, and our clear accent,
Mhm.
what we were teaching, how we, approach certain problems. And especially in developing countries, you have an emerging middle class. So they
Mhm.
want not only just regular teachers. If you went to like an Ivy League school, you can do tutoring on the side and you can make a lot of good money. I actually have a friend, he started a tutoring business to get Thai students into Ivy League schools. So there's a lot of opportunity to be a teacher and to be a tutor on the side.
Lots of opportunities. Okay, thank you. So you're in Bangkok, you're teaching at the school, you have a business, a cosmetics business. Is that still, well, wait. You have the cosmetics business and
Mhm.
you're hosting afternoon teas to get to know
Yes.
people. So why
Yes.
leave Bangkok? Why did you leave Thailand?
Well, I got really burnt out. I was just hustling and hustling, hustling. And I just reached a point in my life, and I left at like 28 years old. I was in a relationship, and we should talk about dating
Yeah.
at some
Oh, we
point in
will.
this conversation.
They're not going to let us get away without talking about dating. Believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I left, I was exhausted, but I was able to still travel the region just to see what is out there. So I went to Singapore just to, see for some networking events. I went on holiday in Japan because this school calendar year in Thailand is very different. So during their Thai New Year, I went to Japan for a week and I was thinking maybe I should move here. Let me just try. I did not like Japan.
Okay.
And it's just so much easier to travel around the region when you're in Southeast Asia or when you're in Europe, just to kind of see what's out there. So I did leave Bangkok and I went to China for a bit. And I was like a live-in teacher in Qingdao, which was an interesting experience.
China
But
seems hard, right? China seems hard. And so people like China because the cost of living is awesome, right?
yeah.
Low cost of living. But China seems hard especially for Black people. How long you were in China for? How long?
Yeah, so I was there for a couple of months, and I was there first. I was a live-in teacher, which was interesting for this like middle-class family, and I taught their, I think, 3-year-old son. The mother had like a whole private library, so it was interesting. But you're right, China was hard, at least for me, because it was just too big of a city. And they were teaching me Mandarin. I was getting accommodated, and this city was actually a former German colony, so it had a lot of European buildings and a lot of foreigners there.
Okay.
And I was able to travel, like take the speed train from Shanghai to Beijing. Like it was interesting. It was just not the right fit for me.
Okay. So for you, it wasn't, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. For me, I've never been to China. I've never been to China, but I've been to Southeast Asia, and Chinese tourists, oh my gosh, they are they are annoying. They're in your face. When you're a Black person traveling around Asia, the Chinese tourists just gravitate to you and treat you sometimes like you're not a human person, like you're an exhibit in a zoo.
The Chinese government did put like a red book out for like etiquette, because a lot of the citizens, especially those that are newly middle class, they're just not used to seeing different people.
Okay.
And there are a lot of Chinese tourists here. China and actually Serbia has a solid relationship. The president of China was here last year. It was an amazing experience. So I think for me, and I've moved so much because it's just like I'm searching for a place that I can call home. So China was not good long term for me. And I did like a small sabbatical in New Zealand when I was trying to figure out if I want to stay at least that side of the world, and how I could make, if I can't start my business and really succeed in Thailand or even China, let me try somewhere else.
Okay. So searching for a place to call home, did you recognize that was what you were doing when you were traveling around, or did you just think you were traveling? Sometimes, you realize later.
I feel that every city, I have to have certain like 7 things I need to know if I'm going to call a city a home. Okay. So at first, Bangkok was good because I had the job. Like, again, back to teaching, that's the best way to establish yourself when it comes to work permit, the visa, the housing, and the stability of a salary. That's the best way. Okay. However, it was just missing some things for me. Like, I love winter, and I just couldn't stand having year-round hot weather. I know you don't like winter, but I love it. And I just missed it a lot. And the pollution in Bangkok was getting really bad. And it was just like, I don't want to be somewhere long-term where it's going to affect my health.
Okay. Okay. So Serbia makes more and more sense now. Okay. You love winter.
Yes,
Serbia has seasons. They have hot summer. From what I remember, they have a hot summer, but they have a cold winter.
Okay. A very hot summer. Okay. Yeah, so Bangkok, again, it was just exhaustion because everyone is like hustling and bustling, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to make it. Like, if you're not doing 3 or 4 different projects, like, what are you doing? And I just kind of went out from like, okay, I teach, I do this, I do that. And it was just like, I'm just exhausted. Okay. So my brilliant idea before I went to New Zealand for a sabbatical, I moved to Singapore because a lot of companies have their headquarters in Singapore and they have their subsidiary offices in Bangkok. So when I was going to really establish my beauty business, which was like selling these natural hair care products, a lot of people loved it. It worked for all hair types because the pollution and the water, a lot of foreigners, especially, their hair just starts to fall out and get thin and dry. So people are like, go to Singapore, establish yourself there, and then, it would be easier for you to scale from throughout Southeast Asia.
Okay.
So
Singapore didn't work out because
Singapore is expensive, and it is not a place for a single female entrepreneur. The type of expats that I was living with or was networking with, you either have a wealthy husband that's a CEO or CFO or in management. So you as a wife, you either stay at home or you can have your own business because you're on a spousal visa. So it's the whole immigration game of how I'm going to establish myself in this country as a business owner.
Yeah.
And
it's expensive.
Singapore is great if you have a family and you have a corporate job. Like it is literally the perfect place for that. Okay. For other foreign entrepreneurs I've met, they're already rich in themselves. So it's easy to drop 100,000 euros to sponsor your own visa and prove to the government that you can afford to live here and pay a team and run a business.
Okay.
So that was just not, me, very naive, like I can just figure it out. That was just not going to work. So when I was in Singapore and trying to figure how I'm going to make this work, I had a family friend. She lives in New Zealand. And I was just like, okay, I'm halfway across the world. Let me just take.
You're right there, right?
Yeah. It was not that close, but it's just like, might as well, right?
It's funny how the world shrinks once you start traveling, right? You're like, well, I'm in Singapore. New Zealand is there, right? Girl, it's thousands of miles away. But you're like, well, I'm closer than I've ever been before. So let me go to New Zealand. I'm going to Vietnam in February. And it's because I'm going to 2 conferences in Las Vegas. And I'm like, well, while I'm on the West Coast, I might as well go to Asia, right? It's right there. Right?
Yeah.
The world really shrinks when you travel more and more like that.
Yeah. And it was just like, why not? I mean, I could just sleep on her couch and just figure out my life and like how I'm going to really establish myself as a business owner. So I flew there and she was happy because our parents have been friends since childhood. So it's like, yeah, you're like a sister to me. So sleep on my couch and figure it out. And again, I thought, okay, New Zealand, I know nothing about it. I just know it's very small and it's very far away. And it is an absolutely beautiful place. Beautiful. Have you been to New Zealand?
No, I went to Australia, but I was poor. And so I didn't go to New Zealand. I didn't have the money to make it right over. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, New Zealand is expensive. And I was surprised that I was able to swing that whole trip. But again, in the destiny and fate of, I had a place to stay. I had just enough money to, round trip because you have to have a round trip. They don't want anybody being backpackers out there. So at the airport and immigration, they count your days.
Okay.
To make sure that you exit and make sure you have a flight to leave the country.
You getting up out of here. They're like, you can visit, but you can't stay.
Exactly. So I was there for 88 days. Exactly. I remember they were counting and I counted just to make sure I was just under 90 days.
Good. How was that as a sabbatical, as a time to rest and decompress and be in nature? How did it work?
It was like the first time in my life, I was just not hustling, bustling, it was just me to rest. I mean, I thought about writing a book, but I was just really resting. And New Zealand, I think their nature is a little bit actually better than Australia because they don't have all those predators.
Yes, all killers.
Exactly. So it was just really nice. And I, not only my friend, but I am part of a religious community. So that enables me to find community in a lot of the places that I live in. So being able to have my friend and have my community I can pray with weekly and meeting other people through my community, it always makes my ability to travel around the world a lot easier.
That's right. Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So I want to talk about another thing New Zealand seems to have over Australia. So we talked about the killer predators. I once saw just a regular like cricket on the wall, the body of it was this big, and the kids were looking at it like they've seen this before. And the mom just came and picked it up like it was normal and moved it outside.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can't live here. But another thing that New Zealand seems to have over Australia is Black people seem to really feel safe and comfortable and welcomed in New Zealand. Not like, so Australia has the Aboriginal racism, the problem of their racist activities against the Aboriginal people, whereas New Zealand seems to have done a better job of navigating that recently. No?
I've met some of the, they don't call them Aboriginals. I forgot the name of the natives. Maori people. Yes, the Maori. I met some of the Maori people. And at least in New Zealand, there are more safety nets. And since it's a smaller population, I think it's just easier to coexist.
Okay.
And manage. with my friend because she is a doctor, and there are many people that are highly educated. So I met a lot of highly educated Kiwis, Maori people, and a few other expats. So I think with the whole racism, prejudice type of experience is different from Australia. It's different from the US because it's just a different history and a different population size and different in terms of, I don't think they had like the boarding schools like they had in Canada, just taking kids and, you know.
Right.
So from my experience, it was nice. It was relaxing. The nature is just absolutely stunning. I was able to go to Auckland and I did like a nice tour, but it was just out of my budget. And I thought about getting a job and I was just like, this is just too far. And even if I wanted to like start a business, I'm just like, this economy is really small. Like, who would I sell to? So it was just a nice sabbatical to rest, to be in community. And it did give me enough time to figure out, okay, what's my next steps? Because I had to go back to Singapore and figure everything out.
Okay, good. All right. And so then you go back to Singapore and figure everything out. Is this when we come to Serbia?
No, we're getting there. We're getting there. So this is like 2019. Singapore, again, Singapore got a lot rougher since when I went back. And again, my community has been like kind of a safety net because at least the community I'm part of is and most expat communities are very affluent. I think looking back, it was just very naive. A lot of people were wealthy, corporate jobs, trailing spouses. So I was just a unicorn. And I want to say, as a Black American woman, at that time, I didn't understand a lot of why there was some type of animosity from some of the white American women or some of the Americans that I got. I was just like, look, I'm a single woman. You know, Singaporeans like me, I'm not trying to take anybody's jobs. And I know that you don't see Black women abroad starting a business, you know, but why are you interrogating me, especially in certain spaces where you don't see people that look like me? So it was just a lot of elitism. I didn't like.
That is very common among Black women who are expats or who are out abroad. That an interrogation, that idea, excuse me, of white people thinking, well, I know I'm here, but I don't understand why you're here.
Or how you're here.
That's right. That's right. So that's a super common experience. It's one of the reasons that I like to look for places where you can be either white American people don't go there. Right? Either the white people don't live there and you don't have to deal with them, or they stay really segregated in that new city and you don't have to be out in the world with them. In San Jose, I spent a lot of time over the last few years in San Jose, Costa Rica. White people love Costa Rica. American white people love Costa Rica, but they don't love San Jose because it's not that great of a city. And so you can be in San Jose, Costa Rica, and not be inundated with and bombarded with questions from white people. But as soon as you go to the beaches and the other parts of Costa Rica, there they are, wanting to know, what do you do? How are you here?
Those questions, the racial undertone of the questions. Hold on, it's getting dark because now it's like 4. Let me just turn on the light.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hi. Please say good morning if you haven't yet. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't yet, and hit the share button if you haven't yet. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that break.
Yes. Let me just.
Yeah, Rashida and I took a cruise last year, and let me tell you what happened. I don't know if we've ever told this. We took a Ritz-Carlton cruise last year. Okay, it was amazing. Do it. So we took the Ritz-Carlton cruise, and somehow among the passengers, I think fewer than 1,000. Was it fewer than 100 or fewer than 1,000? I'm going to go with fewer than 200 people on the boat. Okay. I think it's less than 200 people on the boat. And somehow among the passengers, they decided that we worked for Marriott, and that's how we were on the cruise. And so a white woman sat next to us at dinner and didn't say like any, she was like, so do you work for Marriott International or do you work for a specific property? And that's white women, that's white people, that is white American people. And we're like, girl, we it was 5 of us, like we paid for this cruise like you did. That is the caucasity of it all.
I think that the audacity really, and again, I realize, especially for single women versus married women, a lot of married women, they lose a lot of their identity. So seeing me triggered a lot of married women.
Okay.
And again, at this time, when especially when I was in Singapore and Bangkok, I'm like, you have this husband that provides you this beautiful life. Why are you being so aggressive towards me? Why are you being so mean to me? Like, why are you threatened by me? I didn't do anything. I'm not trying to steal your husband. I'm here living my life. And when people ask me, like, so what do you do? It's just from how Americans ask us, like, okay, so how are you here? Why are you here? And I've been in a lot of like exclusive spaces.
Yeah.
And I'll just share, for my religious community, I'm Jewish. So when I pray with my community, especially in these expat spaces, it's just like, who's this Black girl? How is she here?
Yeah.
Why is she here? And of course, people are not going to directly ask me that. They're just going to be like, okay, so how are you? Like, how are you? Shabbat shalom. Like, and just, it's a questions. So
Yeah.
I've learned to be used to that. And it's only from white Americans. The other expat women I've come across, Australian or Canadians, they're nice.
Yeah.
Or Europeans, they're nice. They don't have that whole racial baggage. And sometimes I've learned just to match energy. I'm about to turn 35 at the end of this month. So I know better now. I'm not going to just like roll over and just be naive and thinking everyone's just curious, because there's an underlying curiosity that some white Americans have versus genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
So it's just, as an expat or a nomad, it's the more exclusive the space, especially as a Black woman, the more people are going to question, like, why are you here?
That's right. That's right. I'm glad that you have decided that you're going to not let it slide. Things like that really get inside of you. They really, the expression is under your skin, but they go deeper than that. And things like that can really get to you. So I'm glad that you at least aren't have decided that you're going to speak up. I don't know if it's going to do any help. You can't teach people to be good people. I'm convinced of that, right? You can't teach them to be better humans. I don't think you can teach people to be better humans, but you can at least walk away from that conversation not feeling like vexed about it. I said my piece. I've moved on.
I've learned also that with experience and maturity, at least over the years, it's just that a lot of women are just projecting their insecurities. And again, once you're a wife abroad and you don't have a job, it really does take away your identity. So I just feel sorry for people. It's just like when they see me, they probably like, oh, wow, you have all this independence. Your identity and your immigration status is not tied to a man. Right. So it's just like people are projecting.
We've never had this conversation before, Blair. Thank you very much for bringing this up. So when I talk to most of the expats that I always talk to are people who are not in community with the corporate expat, So we'd never have had this conversation. We've never talked about what it's like to be in community with people. Like, I don't know that anyone's ever said the term trailing spouse on this channel, but I know what a trailing spouse is. A trailing spouse is like one spouse got a job or their job transferred them to another country, and the spouse that goes with them is called the trailing spouse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never thought about what it's like to be in community with that group of people, as opposed to being in community with like nomads. The women on this channel who are in community with nomads find that the people you run into are amazing. They're awesome. They're great friends. You hang out with them as long as y'all are in town together, and then y'all go your separate ways. But I've never thought about being in a country with people who have moved there as expats and are working there, and what that dynamic might look like and how different that might feel.
Yeah, there are different levels of the expat community itself. So it's not only with the corporate types. Last year I went to a lot of diplomatic events, and I've met quite a few people, once we get to Serbia, of trailing spouses of diplomatic wives. So there's, nomads, people that come in and out, but for expats that come long-term, even as an English teacher, yes, I was an expat, but I was not like that type of expat that got that fancy package where you have a 3-bedroom house, you have a driver, you have a maid, you have a cleaner. I mean, some of the expats live very nicely in Bangkok, very nicely in Singapore. So when you have that affluent expat, not only that their husband is like the CEO of Merrill Lynch or Bank of America in Singapore. Like those are the type of expats I've commuted with. But some of these women are themselves career oriented, but because of the visa, they can't work. So people do charity work. People might start their own business on their side, or they just might be microaggressive and just want to project their insecurity on other people because they can't work, you know? So there are different levels. And especially for me being in the Jewish community in these different spaces, meeting a lot of these types of families, couples, individuals, it's a different type of expat as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Good. Good.
It's
Thank you for sharing that. ES
yeah.
says same vibe with military wives
Oh
overseas who
yes.
are with very limited opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that before. Okay, can we skip ahead to Serbia? Because listen, I want everybody to know about Serbia. The
Yes,
Balkans,
yes.
okay?
Okay, yeah. So Singapore, I went to Kazakhstan, things didn't work out. Kazakhstan was great. Turkey, Paris, then Singapore, and then Serbia. So
Okay. Okay.
yes. Yes.
All right. So you're in Paris and you're like, I think the baguettes, I'm over the baguettes. Let me go to Serbia
Yeah.
and see what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, Paris 2022, the thing is a war broke out. And the war in Europe was just complicated things with the visa and establishing myself. In Paris, again, you need to be a wealthier type to have that type of visa, especially if you're a non-EU citizen. So I need to get out of the EU. And I was thinking, I'm not going back to the US. I need to go somewhere. So I look on a map saying, okay, where can I go in Europe? And it was either Belgrade or Tirana, Albania. And there was a bus between Paris directly to Belgrade. So I packed up my stuff and I took the bus and arrived to Belgrade June 1st, 2022 at 7 a.m. in this beautiful city. And I was just like, okay, I'm giving myself a week to figure out what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you gave yourself a week and that week was phenomenal, amazing. Everything fell into place and now you live there?
Something like that. Yeah. In short, yes, because it checked off all my boxes. You know, the city is not too big. It's not like 10 million people like Bangkok. Mm-hmm. It's a walkable city. People are really friendly, like genuinely friendly. Everyone speaks English. Yes. And I immediately learned it was very easy to not only just set up a company, but just to get your residency. Like either you have your company give you a work permit, you set up a company, you buy property. And even if you're married or not married to a Serbian, like some people said, like if you're living with a Serbian, technically you still can get like a visa, you know, or just get your residency. So I was just like, this is great. And also there's a local Jewish community for me here to pray with. And they were really instrumental in helping like establish myself and get housing. So it checked off everything. And there's winter. So that is that is how Serbia, or at least Belgrade, in the first couple of months was just like, I can do this. I can make this work. And it's affordable. It's not like Paris or Singapore that's crazy expensive. It's not as cheap anymore as it used to be like pre-pandemic, because it used to be like city center, 500 euros and get a beautiful space. Those days are over. The war changed a lot because you had hundreds of thousands of Russians and Ukrainians that came here, driving up the rent prices. And that really upset a lot of people because honestly, the average salary for someone, a local, is like 1,000 euros. Mm-hmm. And people live with their families, or in the case, and we can talk more about this, Yugoslavia, many people had apartments. So many people inherit their apartments.
Yes.
So Belgrade, just everything kind of just fell into place for me. And just, I started my TikTok channel just to share like, what is life like in this, you know, interesting city? Nobody goes to Belgrade. I didn't know anything about this city, you know? So, you know, after years of experience, I'm like, I want a place to call home. And I was able to set up my company in 2023. Okay. Yeah, I set up my company in 2023. I found some lawyers. They helped set everything up for me. Everything was very straightforward. And I finally got my residency after a year after applying, because again, the backlog of the system of like hundreds of thousands of people coming in. Because it used to be you go to the police station, you show your papers, they make a decision. Now they put everything online. Yes. I mean, yeah, it was just a very informal process. It's not like a hard line like Thailand or Singapore. You have to have bank statements, this and that. As an American, though, as an
Oh,
American,
okay.
it's very straightforward.
Okay.
But now everything's online, it's streamlined. So they ask all these questions. So it's good to have like a legal team, at least for me to establish my business and get my residency through my business. So I was able to open a business bank account, a personal bank account. I think you still can open a bank account without having a business as a foreigner. It's relatively straightforward.
I think so. Yeah, I think Serbia is one of those places like get here and then you can figure out how to stay later. That's been my
Exactly. It is one of those figure out place, and they're very welcoming to people. Like I was just really surprised. And again, this is kind of like an unknown part of the world.
Yeah.
But it's very European in sense of the architecture. A lot of people here speak English. People here are very well educated. And for those of you that don't know, this was part of former Yugoslavia. So I didn't know at the time anything about Yugoslavia or the history, but apparently Serbia is like the least racist country in the world because in their constitution in 1835, they said any enslaved person that comes here is a free man or a woman. And during that time in the 50s and 60s, they had a lot of African students come here to study. So during, the 50s, Jim Crow, where you had segregation, you had African students, South Asian students, people from around the world come here to study in their institutions. So they are used to seeing Black people. The whole whiteness or American racism is not a concept here.
Yes.
So being here as a Black woman, I stand out more as an American versus as a Black woman. And I think that's when my TikTok really took off, when I talked about how I forget I'm a Black woman. Literally, I do, because people just treat me as an American. I'm a human, I'm an American, I'm a woman, and then yes, okay, I'm a Black person. That's literally how it is.
It's funny because the slave trade in the United States had a worldwide impact. We do forget that there are people who did not, that's not how things are set up in their place. We're not saying that you're not saying that there's no racist people in Serbia, right?
I mean, the whole concept of American style type of racism with segregation, none of that. The Serbs were under Turkish rule or Ottoman rule for 400 years.
Okay.
So, and they don't have systems of racism. There's literally no anti-Blackness here. And I know that's hard to hear for people, but literally it's not a thing here.
The systems weren't set. So in the US, the systems were set up to specifically segregate, to oppress, to whatever. That's not how Serbia was set up. I went to Belgrade, Serbia. I don't know if you know this.
I saw that.
I passed through Belgrade. I was back, I went home, I flew out on my sabbatical in 2015, flew to Southeast Asia. My mom was so upset about it that she made me promise to come back halfway through. So I went back home in April. I bought my ticket, right? Came back home in April. And while I was home for that 2 weeks, I think it was for her birthday and Easter. While I was home for those 2 weeks, Alitalia, the airline, had a humongous airfare to Belgrade, Serbia. So I got on the plane and flew to Serbia while I was home for 2 weeks, flew to Serbia and took the bus to Hungary.
Ooh.
So when I saw I don't know that I looked anything up about Belgrade. I was just passing through. I was going to be there for a day, then go take the bus and then come back and be there for a couple more days before I flew home. And Belgrade looked but Belgrade to me looked like two different cities. There were parts of it that were very brutalist Soviet architecture looking. Mm-hmm. But when I got down, I was like, oh, is this Belgrade or is this Budapest, right? Is this Belgrade or is this whatever other city? Very European city looking.
Yes.
And I was really like surprised by the way it looked, especially driving in from the airport to the downtown and seeing the brutalist Soviet architecture and being like, oh, this city looks like a hard city.
No. Things have changed. That's probably the new part of Belgrade. But here, especially in the city center, and they just developed the whole Belgrade waterfront. So you have all these luxury condos and restaurants and a luxury mall. I've seen a lot of great cities, and I'm sure you've seen. And it's like what they've done over the last 5 years has tremendously changed. So Belgrade is, and part of my business and consulting is like promote this as a hub for expats and nomads. It's a really beautiful city. They have built a lot more modern building. Yes, you see that Soviet type of communist hardline buildings in certain parts, but they have more modern buildings.
Yeah, I was really like, wow, this is a nice place. Too bad I'm not staying here longer. I remember people being kind. I'm the kind of person who, if I'm lost, I want everyone to know I'm lost and
Yeah.
somebody help me. Okay.
Yeah.
And people stopped on the street to help me. It's one of those places where people would
Yes,
stop
people
and
will
help.
stop and help you, ask you if you need help. They'll ask you in the most genuine question. I've realized when people ask, "Oh, where are you from?" or "Why you come to Serbia?" people are genuine, like genuinely curious. And I still get that to this day. And many Serbs are happy to say, "Oh, well, thank you for being here." And people know me from my ticket, like, "Thank you for talking positively about Serbia," because Serbia does have a horrible reputation, especially from NATO in the 90s.
Mhm.
So there's not a big expat hub here. It's growing now with the new developments and stuff.
Yeah.
But Serbian people are really kind and friendly, and many people speak English. That's another thing I like about the city. It's very English friendly.
Okay.
I am learning the language, and I do speak some Russian. So when I came here, I thought, oh, I thought Serbia was part of Soviet Union. They're like, no, we were part of Yugoslavia, and the Soviet Union was, that's the Eastern Bloc. So there's a difference between former Soviet countries and the Balkans.
Yes.
So, and I lived in Kazakhstan, which was a former Soviet country. So there's a Russian speaking, there's a different mindset, there's a different history versus Yugoslavia and former Yugoslavia countries like Montenegro and Croatia and Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a different history, different ethnic groups, different religions. And it's just easy, at least for me, to settle here and call it home.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, a lot of questions about the cost of
Yes.
living. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. What, maybe
Okay,
I
some
started.
people, yeah, I'm looking at.
I thought I started a question. So let's talk
Okay.
about the cost of living. I made up a number and put it on the thumbnail. I said I think somebody could live there on $1,500 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
What is do you I should have asked you this offline. Are you okay with sharing your actual numbers?
Yeah, yeah, I'm absolutely positive, and I just made a YouTube video about housing. It really comes down to: are you single? Do you have a pet? Do you have a family? And your lifestyle, because you could live incredibly cheaply here if you want. If you live on the outskirts of the cities, you can live on €1,000. Though things have gotten
Yeah.
more expensive, yeah, you could.
Okay.
If that you want to have a very budget conscious life, there's some housing on the outskirts or renting a room. You could do that for €500. I'm taking the public transportation, which is good here, buying all your grocery store, going to the groceries, and you can go out to eat, for a decent meal and maybe travel a little bit for 1,000. But if you want a little bit of more of an elevated lifestyle and live in the city center or some of the other neighborhoods, yeah, €1,500 for one bedroom, that's about 1,000. You could make it, but if you are single and you
Okay.
don't have like a lot of needs. But if you want to travel a little bit, you want more space, you want to go to some of the nicer restaurants, and there's clubs for every budget and bars for
Okay.
every budget if you want to do that. And a lot of people go to Vienna because there's a direct flight between Belgrade and Vienna. It's like under €100. So you could 1,500, you could squeak by that. You could.
Okay. I'm sorry, friends. Blair, I have the link incorrect. I copied and pasted the link incorrectly. So I'm
Oh,
trying to fix that, and that's why I look distracted. So,
yeah. Okay, no, I
so
see some of the comments on my phone. So,
yeah, I'm gonna fix it right now.
okay.
I wanted to make sure I got the HTTPS part in there, and I think I typed that wrong. To make sure the link was clickable. So friends, let me click that. Let me link to that one more time and see what happens. Let me know now if this last one works. To make sure. Blair's website is Blair in
In
Belgrade.
Belgrade.com. Yeah. So,
Yes. Let
yeah,
me know if the last one works.
yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so these luxury condos that are downtown now on the, you said luxury on the riverfront?
Yeah, so on the Belgrade waterfront,
On the
a
waterfront?
minimum starting one bedroom, maybe €1,200. But you have to also have the security deposit, and it depends. Do you go through a real estate agency, or like many expats, we go on Facebook groups. A lot of people are renting or reselling some of their flats. So just keep in mind 1,200 minimum euros, because people at least do euros versus dollars.
Mhm.
And then if you want to live in the city center like myself, 700 minimum if you want like a 1 bedroom.
Okay.
And no pets, which you can have pets, but that's just going to be an additional expense.
Okay.
Food or groceries, I spend maybe like 30 euros. Again, I'm just me a week for food, and I cook a lot of fresh foods, and I walk everywhere. So if I want to take the bus, taking the bus is like $2, maybe €2, and people do holiday here. That's one thing people are going to do. They're going to go on a holiday. So this summertime, it's extremely hot, but many Serbs, they own like properties in their villages, or they go to Montenegro. So I went to Montenegro for a holiday this summer. I was in
Oh,
Budva.
good.
So even if you are like a grocery store worker, people have the means because either they're inherited property from their grandparents during the time of Yugoslavia, or they can go buy to a nearby country. A lot of people love to go to Italy or Montenegro or Croatia, or if you're really part of that 1%, you go to UK or Spain or other places.
Okay.
So it's not budget, but if you want to be comfortable, at least 2,000. Comfortable
on $2,000 a month by
on
yourself.
as a single person with no dependents or real responsibilities.
Okay, I like that. That's a good number, right?
Yeah.
That's a good number. Yeah. So, this is a walkable city.
Yeah.
And then you talked about it having seasons. So Serbia has seasons. The summers are hot. Is this a place where you're going to get air conditioning in your unit?
Yes, every place has like the AC. And the thing is, I didn't know in the US, but in most countries now, you have the AC unit that is also a heater unit. They have that dual stuff. So most places have the AC and heater.
Good.
And you could find modern, beautiful places, or you can find very cheap places on the outskirts. And people take the bus. You don't have to live in the city center of Belgrade. I just love to live in the center of a city.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's so pretty. So he's saying euro stronger than the dollar or whatever. Right now, 1,200 euros is about $1,200, right? There's not a whole lot of difference between the euro and the dollar right now. Sometimes there's a difference, sometimes there's not. That's just how right now, $1,200 is 1,170 euros. Right?
Okay.
Sometimes there's a difference, sometimes there's not. Right now, there's not a whole lot of difference between the euro and the dollar.
Yeah,
so
but I think it's more than just money, though. It's about quality of life. I see someone says they rent a 1 bedroom, $1,600, but your quality of life, your well-being, and your happiness, it's going to be a lot more here.
Yeah,
because again, people are not working to live. Your identity is not tied up in like what you do for work. The food is better and fresher. Like when I left Paris, I was just like slightly a little bit overweight, and then since I've been here, I walk everywhere. The food is great. I'm not as stressed. I can be healthier. And most Serbians are like tall and slim people. That's another thing. Everyone here is just like tall, slim, and good looking.
They're models. Serbians and Croatians, they're the models. They're models. So you mentioned that you went to Montenegro on vacation. So we're talking this area. This area of Europe is a place that the women who I know who have visited love it, and the women I know who live there love it. So not just Serbia, but Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, Albania. This is a region that women really enjoy their lives in and have a full life when they live there. So how was your vacation? You went to Montenegro. Did you go to Budva? Where in Montenegro?
Budva. I was in Budva. So my boyfriend, and we'll eventually go to dating, his friend owns a property, one of many in Budva. So I was just like, I want to go on holiday. He's like, okay. So I went there. I stayed at the place. I went to the seaside, which was really nice. I really don't like being in the sun, but it was the first time like I was really swimming. And there were a lot of tourists. There were a lot of people. And it was really nice. I went to a Turkish bath and got like, a proper bath, like scrub. And I loved it. It was just really relaxing, So it's great to be in a country where people do take holidays, where people relax, and people love long lunches. One thing I've learned is to take my time to eat. The cafes are so full, you think no one's working, but people do work, and people are not rushing just to to eat or drink their coffee. You can tell I'm American because I sometimes walk while I'm eating. People don't do that. They're going to sit and they're going to enjoy their croissants or their pastry.
That was probably the first real culture shock I experienced when I was traveling around, that you don't eat while you're walking. You don't, you sit down and you eat your food and you drink your coffee.
Yeah.
And then you go. I went into a cafe and I was like getting my, they had a little espresso and the little
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but no, I didn't say paella, whatever to go was. I learned that in different languages. I think it was Portuguese.
Okay.
And they were like, no. No. Here, drink your coffee, eat your little pastéis de nata, and then you go. Being rushed and having like a sense of urgency about everything is American, and it's stressful and it's killing us. And you go to those other places, you see that they don't live like that.
Absolutely. I talked about that on my TikTok. I'm like, why am I going to these 6-hour lunches or 10-hour dinners? Okay, there is a Slava, which Serbians are Orthodox Christians, so they have saints and you have a Slava meal. So I went with my boyfriend one time, and it was for 10 hours. And I was just like, this is a marathon. It's like Thanksgiving times 10. You have live music, you have a whole entire feast. And I've been to many lunches with him because people do business over food. So you're there for hours. And people just really take their time in the courses of meal one after another. So it was like a whole learning curve for me just to relax. And when I first came here, I have a brand deal with this luxury safari company. So I was just like really pushing, go on safari, go on this. Like, Blair, stop. We love you, but can you stop like networking and business? Like, we just want to get to know you. Like, why are you always pitching yourself? So just be you. Relax, enjoy your food, and let's just have a good time. Stop business talk.
It's probably really hard to unlearn. It's probably, even though I guess you left the US relatively young, so that's good. You have that in your favor, working on your side. But it's probably really hard for people to unlearn. Be a person, not a worker. Be a person, not a business owner. Be a whole person.
Exactly.
I looked at, so I would really like to, it's not going to happen. So this is not me saying, this is not me making an announcement, but I would really like in October to have spent a good amount of time in that region in the Balkans, but I just can't make it work. I have too many. That was my original plan at the start of the year, but it's already been canceled because listen, Montenegro and like Budva, it looks like an Italian seaside place, paradise, right?
Yeah.
It looks just like the other side. They're separated by the water, but it looks a lot like the other side. It looks amazing. It looks like, I don't know, what's that movie that I like? The movie where the woman goes and she has a little holiday and then
Eat, Pray, Love?
No, it's a scary movie. She marries the man, and then when he comes back, and they come back, he takes her to his mansion, and
I know exactly the movie. I know the name. I forgot the name of the movie. I know exactly what you're talking about. Montenegro it's beautiful, it's stunning, and during Yugoslavia, Montenegro and Croatia was like the destinations for most of the block to go to vacation on. So that's why a lot of people have a lot of properties, and there's a lot of property development. Montenegro has also their own waterfront, just like Belgrade waterfront. So it's really nice. You kind of get the best of both worlds. If you want to live in the city and escape for a month or 6 weeks or a couple of months, you go to the village or you go to Montenegro. There's a lot of nature here, and people really value that time to be in nature. And go to some of the fresh springs. Like in my community, there's this one family, the wife and child is always going to the spa in the springs. I'm like, I need to check out this place. You guys are always there. People really look relaxed because they value nature and rest. Like, it's not a city of hustle and bustle. There are definitely aspects of that, but people here are just trying to enjoy their life.
Yeah.
And it's not about work.
If you've sat down over the last little bit and started working on, like, what do I really value in my life? And how do I make sure that I live out those values? Going to a place, the shortcut is go to a place where they also value those things, right? If you want time with family and you want time in nature and you want time to pamper yourself, and like not pamper yourself in a negative way, but I mean pamper yourself in a positive way. Pamper yourself and take care of yourself and go to spas and go to teas and stuff like that. Go to a place where they do that and where it's the norm instead of fighting against it in the US, trying to fight against that, trying to live a life where you have community and where you have connection in a place where they don't value community and connection is really, really just like beating your head against a wall.
Yeah.
But you can go to places where they do value those things. And like I said, when I was the little bit of time that I was in Serbia, I was like, oh, these people are nice, right?
They are genuinely nice, and people really value family life. Like if I have children, this would be a really great place to raise children. Family life is everywhere, especially summer. You have people, families playing the playground until 11 o'clock. Like people take their kids everywhere. Kids are loved here. You see them at restaurants all times of the day. They're everywhere. So it's really nice to be in a country where people really value family life, where it's a more of a collectivist society. So it's really nice to see how people actually live their life with their families, and holidays are something really valued and respected.
So you mentioned in Bangkok, they start the day so early. What does the day look like in Belgrade?
So this is a city that ends very late.
Okay.
So people here, when it comes to the nightlife here, which is, I think, the best in Europe, for those that work like the corporate world is like that. Yes, that 9 to 5. But if you're like a business owner, maybe 10 to, if you have late night dinners. And I've had some friends, especially when it comes to like business and contracts and negotiations, it can be till 1 or 2 in the morning. And if you're partying, it could be like till 8 in the morning. So I'm not about that whole 8 in the morning type of nightlife, but I'm an early person. So when I start my day early, if I want to go for a jog in the morning, or I actually just started taking ballet, I like to do my evening classes, but in the morning, I can have a slow morning to wake up. It's quiet because the city is not noisy and loud.
Good.
In the morning.
All right. And then is this a long lunch nap type of place, or is it a lunch and then go right back to work type of place, or what does that look like?
So it really depends. Again, like for me as a business owner, and since I have like more control over my time, like lunches and dinners are long. Okay. If you are an employee for a company, and you go to lunch, you definitely have your lunches from what I understand, and you go back to work. So it really depends on like what brought you here. For people that are remotely working, I've met some digital nomads. They work the American hours. So they have a different time table.
Yeah. Because you're like 8 hours ahead of Eastern time. Do you know that number?
I think for Eastern time, yeah, I think I'm 7 or 8 hours because now we have the daylight savings. Yeah.
Okay. So like it's 11 a.m. Eastern. What time is it for you in Belgrade?
Right now it's 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay. That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. So again, it's like also who your social circles are. For me, again, I came here and I guess made my brand of tea parties by hosting the first afternoon tea party, because tea is not a big thing in Serbia, but a lot of the local women who lived abroad, they're like, we love this, have this tea party. So I was first known as the afternoon tea girly. I host these really beautiful afternoon tea parties. And then I started my business with doing consulting, and just, it kind of evolved as I spent my time here and really felt like Belgrade loves me. It's nice to be in a place that loves you and then you love it back.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you had the cosmetics line and the cosmetic or the skincare brand, but in Belgrade you do something different. So
different.
So how did the afternoon teas start? And was that a business, or was that just a social thing? And how did that get started?
It started like any city I go to, I always host an afternoon tea party just to kind of get a feeling of what the business ecosystem is like. So I get business women, local and expat women, we meet over tea, and it's a really nice way to softly network, and just kind of gives me a feel like, okay, so can I do this here? Should I stay here? What's the economy like? Okay. So I wanted to focus on just doing events. And then as I evolved and actually set up my own company, my lawyers advise me, you can do consulting. Like you can set up any type of company. It doesn't have to be something magnificent, So it could just say you do consulting, and that gives you a really flexibility to provide different types of services.
Okay.
So for me, I still do my tea parties, but I focus more on B2B services, relocation services, and then working with companies that want to have like international clients. So again, that American privilege has really worked with me when I just come here and saying, hey, I do this, XYZ, I have this global network, and people are really happy. And again, building a brand, that's actually how I met my current partner, just hearing like this girl organizes afternoon teas. So you can really make a name for yourself in the city if you have fresh, new ideas. And if you can bring foreigners to travel here, especially because they want more travelers, you can really be quite successful here.
So you got to Belgrade and you were like, I want to host an afternoon tea to meet some women. How did you get people to come to the tea?
So Facebook groups, like I have like a recipe because I've been doing these tea parties for like 8 years now. So
Okay.
I did my tea parties first in Belgrade, Bangkok. I did it in Istanbul. I walked into the Ritz-Carlton like, I want to do tea parties, and I showed the pictures, and management loves it because if you see the pictures of tea parties, it's quite a unique thing. Yeah. So it's just one way to distinguish myself as a foreigner, to make distinguish myself from other, I guess, companies or people that are coming to the city.
Okay. And then when you start consulting, you started with relocation services. Was this primarily for Americans who were already interested in coming to Serbia? Like, how do you start a relocation business to a place that Americans don't even know about yet? Is my real question.
Facebook groups are really powerful. I'm sure like any country or city I lived in, it's like expats in Belgrade, expats in Bangkok. So just putting myself out there, networking, and a lot of word of mouth, and setting up this company as like in my TikTok. Actually, TikTok has really helped me because not many people know about Belgrade or about Serbia. So in my bio, I'm like, this is my business, this is what I do, see my website. So it just kind of evolved into like this Blair in Belgrade. And I talk a lot about Serbia. I have a really solid network. I've met people. I mean, this is, I think, the first time in my expat life where I actually get to meet the 1%. I've met people, the royal family, and people are just really welcoming. Like I saw the president at like one of these Chamber of Commerce events. So if you really distinguish yourself as adding something to this country, not just like taking, people really would make the right introductions and see like you're positively contributing to the country and the economy.
So how long do you think you were in Belgrade? Christine's asking to see pictures. Christine, I think you probably know that I don't know how to share my screen and not.
Yeah, it's on my website where blairbelgrade.com, and it says tea parties, so you can see the tea parties.
Yes, please do that. Okay, it's okay. If you open up if you click on that link, it'll open up another tab, and you won't lose us here. Don't be nervous. Okay, yeah, it'll open up another tab so you can see that while you can still hear us talking. Okay, I think most of y'all know I can't navigate that and not guarantee that we're going to lose this whole live stream.
If people want to see my screen, share my screen. I don't know how to do that.
It's okay. It's okay, Blair. We're all right. I think
we're all right, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's on my website. I've done tea parties all around the world. In fact, that's how I got an opportunity to go to Nairobi, Kenya. They're like, you do tea parties, why don't you do tea party on safari? So I went to Nairobi for a month promoting like these luxury safari experiences, all because I grew this network of afternoon tea and women around the world in my network to sell safari experiences. So if you create some type of community like you've done, Stephanie, like you'll have brands and businesses approach you and ask, can you promote your product or service or to your community?
How long would you say you were in Belgrade before you were able to fully support yourself in the new business?
Well, that's a good question. Because for me, I just got my residency through my business. So it's really the timing of how the immigration, how the laws changed. So I think it like really took 2 years before I could say like I really established myself in my business. And since most of my clients are foreigners, like, again, that definitely makes a difference. So It depends on your business. It depends on the timing, and prices for food and rent has gone up. So it's very sporadic. I can't say I was established after 1 month and I did like thousands of euros in sales per year. So I'm still climbing. I'm not where I want to be yet financially. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. The plant, I'm sold. Okay.
Okay.
It's really
Email
nice.
me. I'm happy to help you come to Serbia, because it's still like an unknown place. A lot of people don't know about Serbia. They mix it with Siberia sometimes.
Silly. Then they'll never want to go. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So there aren't a lot of places in the world, I don't think, where you can go and start a business and then get residency, right? Where you can go and establish yourself without having done a whole lot of legal hoop through jumping first. There are a lot of places where you can get residency and you can never start a business.
Really?
Right? Yeah. Especially if you're on like a retirement visa or something, right? They're like, no, you can't do any of that stuff here. Just spend money here. You're only here to spend money, right? Yeah. So this is a really unique part of the world. It offers some unique opportunities.
I think
there are places where you can get a specific type of residency, but that residency really restricts what kind of activities you can do.
Yeah.
And my opinion from talking to you, and we talked to Carrie in Croatia not long ago.
Yeah, I saw
that channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is a unique part of the world in that regard, right?
To start a business and get your residency through business. I think for me, in my experience, especially in Thailand, what I saw, especially those that are retirees, and this only applies to men, they marry a local woman and she starts the business. Everything's in her name. So that's how you do the business. But you can definitely start a business in many countries. If you have the money, at least 100,000 euros. In many countries, yes. Some countries, 500,000 or $1 million.
Right.
But here in Serbia, they're open for business. They want people to come here and start businesses. So even if you have, I'm not sure if they have a retirement visa, but if you have a healthy Social Security or pension, you can live quite comfortably here. And again, you can start any type of business. It could be consulting, and you have a lot of flexibility and room to run your business. And I think has always been my eventual path of starting a business as a foreigner. And yes, there are a lot of legal barriers and hoops to jump, but I think this is probably the best place because they're not so stringent on when it comes to the startup capital. Right. And they want foreigners, they want business owners, and it's just a good timing in history for many developing countries, I would just say.
That was a good clarification, Blair. Yeah. So yes, a lot of places you can go and start a business if you're willing to put 250K down, right? If you're willing to spend 250K on that business or more, or $1 million, right? But that's what I meant. Like you can go there and not have 250K and start a business and get residency and be there, legally.
Yeah. So for here, if you want to start a business, I'll tell you exactly. First, you have to have 5,000 euros in the bank. And it doesn't have to be like for a month. Like my partner helped me just to put on my bank for just a couple hours. And the government needs to see that you have the capital. Then you have lease on your apartment, and then your passport, and then your legal team can just set up a couple of things. But yeah, really, it's like technically 5,000, and then just pay some legal expenses, like no more than 1,000 euros. And then you're all set. Like, it's not that complicated. Out of all the countries I lived in, it's quite straightforward.
Yeah. A couple hours.
And then the bank prints out, a statement like they have this capital in the bank.
Then it's done. What about the internet? Can we talk about the internet speed? You things look
very
good
fast.
To me.
Okay. Very fast. And actually, this is the first city in the world I've been to where you have free Wi-Fi in the city center. Like no other country I've been to. And I've been to Japan. I've been to South Korea. I've been to Israel. Like you come till this day, you come to the city center and you have access to free Wi-Fi.
Good. Okay, good. Any other logistical questions about working or running a business there? I don't have any other questions about that. Okay, so we're going to get to the things that everybody really wants to know about.
Which is,
First, hair. Okay, listen, I hear y'all. Okay, you can stop all caps in me, Miriam. Good morning,
who
Miriam.
does your locks? Okay, I do my locks.
Okay.
No one touches my hair. So
Okay.
I got my hair done. My hair is quite long. So I started this in university because I knew I was going to live a big, fabulous life. I take care of my hair. I go to Lush or I go to some natural shops and get shampoo bars. That's all I can say when it comes to locks. For other Black women here, and there are a couple of Black women, they either pre-pack a lot of their products before they come here. And there are actually quite a few African braiders here.
I was going to say, they're
And
probably braiders and stuff. Yeah.
there are braiders, and not only there are braiders, a lot of Serbians, and I know some Americans might see this as cultural appropriation, but a lot of people do box braids, and it's not a problem. No one's saying you're taking our culture. Serbian women like to do box braids, and it is okay.
It's a more glamorous and like party location than we probably know. So they do extensions, they do weaves. Some women are out there ready,
People
dressed, ready, and looking.
here dress up. If you are a woman and you're to go grocery shopping, you better look nice.
Yeah. So that means that they do the same hair stuff that we do. You just may not want, you may or may not want to go to a Serbian hairstylist, but they know how to do weave. Okay. They do
They
weaves
know
there.
how to do
Okay.
hair extensions. And
Do it.
again, the beauty standard here is not, you can't look at it as a whiteness lens. It's more like we are women and we want to be beautiful. Period. It
Well,
has nothing.
our hair is different. Our hair, for
It is
a
different.
lot of us, our hair is
Yeah,
different. And so you
it
may
is
want,
different.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I, you're right. So when I was in college, one of my professors was from, I think he was from Nigeria. Honestly, I'm not sure where he's from, but he went to school in Russia, and he's the one who told us years ago that there's a lot of African students who go to Russia and back then Russia and Yugoslavia and whatever. So there are Black and there are African people there, and so I'm sure that
There are African people here. There are African people. Again, they've been here since the 50s to study, to establish themselves. It's not like a novelty. There are a lot of African women that I've become friend with. There are diplomatic wives.
Okay.
So I've actually done some of their hair. Like one of them, I do her locks. And there are some African braiders that come here. They married Serbian men, and we could talk about dating because this might connect the whole why I'm so comfortable being here as a Black woman, is that a lot of foreign women are married to Serbian men. When I had my first tea party, all the women were married to Serbian men. I'm like, maybe I'll find my Serbian husband. Okay. And in my experience, all the countries that I've been to, it's always the foreign men married to local women, but it's kind of the opposite here. Foreign women married to local men.
Okay.
And
all right. So what are those men like? How tall, how rich, how nice?
Are some of the tallest people in the world. So the average Serbian man is like 5'11" or 6'1", same as the women. So people here are tall. And I'm in a relationship, and my boyfriend's like 6 feet tall. And again, they see you first as women. You're a beautiful woman. Yes, you might be exotic, but not in like that creepy way. You're just a beautiful woman. You have beautiful hair, you have beautiful skin, you look good, and people date to marry. People date seriously. I'm not on the dating apps because I network and socialize a lot, so I don't feel a need to be on the apps.
Okay.
And again, a lot of the foreign women I met are married to Serbian men, or they're here as trailing spouses. Okay. So it's actually a good place. If you want to get married, come to Serbia because you can probably find a husband.
Okay, y'all heard her. Okay, date to marry is something that you don't hear very often. So these are adult men, these are grown-up men who are actively dating to be married. They value marriage and
they're
partnership.
very traditional. And when it comes to maybe people might not make as much money like they do in the States, but many people own property. Serbians are very much focused on being a homeowner. So even if they get a mortgage, they'll quickly pay it off. But many people inherited property from their grandparents or their parents. So a lot of people own property here. So maybe your husband doesn't make $100,000 a year, but he has some property. Okay. And he's good looking. He's like European men, like they're tall, they're well dressed, well groomed. They take care of their women. So if you want to find a nice boyfriend or husband, yeah, you can live your best life here.
How feminist are they? Are these men who are like, now I know I married a smart businesswoman, but she better get in that kitchen and make my dinner?
Okay,
Or are
so
these?
the mentality here is from the Eastern Europe or the Balkans here is during Yugoslavia, people were very equal. So women get educated and men get educated. Yes, they have traditional gender roles, but it's not like in the States where there's that underlying kind of sexism or racism.
Okay.
People here live, close to their family. Many families have their grandparents to help. Or if you go to the village, again, you have a home in a village, you have neighbors to help. So it's not the type of American style feminism. And I think we need to distinguish American feminism with the rest of the world feminism. And you have a lot of safety nets here as well.
Safety nets for
healthcare, universal healthcare, private healthcare.
Before we go over to healthcare, let's keep talking a little bit about dating. So you're with you have a Serbian partner.
Yeah.
What is your relation? How long have y'all been together?
For like a year and a half.
What's is his family close by, and what's your relationship like with them?
Well, he is older, and we met doing business together.
Okay.
So, and he is really successful in business. I wouldn't say he's part of the 1 or 0.01%.
Okay.
So our dynamics in our relationship is very different than like the traditional.
A normal 30 something. Okay.
Normal 30 something, someone on average salary. Like when I'm talking about 1% or 0.01%, not just of Serbia, of just like of Europe. So it's a very different dynamic when it comes to our relationship.
If a Black woman from the US was to go to Serbia and date a regular Serbian person, would his family be good to her, or would there always be a divider? You know what I mean? Would it be like, he's good to me, but I'm never going to be welcomed into this family?
No, Serbians are very welcoming. Like that is one thing. People will welcome you. You'll be very much part of the family. In regards to marriage and children, most people are Orthodox Christians. So most likely you're going to have to think about converting.
Okay.
But aside from maybe the language barrier, you're going to be one of them. Serbs really encompass and welcome people. So it's not like certain cultures where no matter how much you try or if you become fluent in the language, you're done. Like here, you're one of us.
Okay, good. I do follow, but I have at Exodus Summit 2023, we talked to Thea, who is doing Italy. Her Instagram handle is doing Italy. Okay. And it's so lovely to see her pictures with her husband is Italian. She's Black from somewhere. I don't know where Thea is from. I don't remember. Her husband is Italian. They have the little Italian son who'll be like, buongiorno, right? And it's really lovely to see her pictures with her in-laws, with the family.
Yeah.
And it looks visually, I'm not in their life, but visually it looks like she is a part of the family. She is in the family.
Yeah.
And I often wonder for Black women who especially marry Europeans, like Europeans in Europe. I often wonder how common that is. Or are you always going to be
an outsider?
Yeah.
No, you're definitely going to be very much part of the family. I met many people in his family. So it's just, again, it's not Western Europe, and that Western racism and prejudice is not the same as the Balkans or Eastern Europe.
Okay.
Like I think we need to distinguish that. Here, people are very much family oriented. They spend time with their families, and a lot of the women I've met, their in-laws love them. Sometimes they love them more than the son. So again, if you master the language eventually, but people will still accept you.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. I don't know how much of that is me making up my own fear. You know what I mean? We fear the others sometimes. And sometimes I don't know how much of that concern is me making up a fear and how much of it is from something I've seen. Because I can't point to anybody I've seen and been like, she's not incorporated in that family. I think that's me making up my own fear, right?
Yeah.
So dating, how long did you more about that? Listen, they're going to ask more questions about dating if I don't. So how long were you out in Serbia before you got snatched up?
I mean, I was here for a year before I even met my boyfriend, but it was just very easy. You just go outside and people approach you. Like you stand out, you're a beautiful woman. I want to take you out. Let's do this. Let's go out for drinks. Like it's very easy if you come here for a week to end up with a boyfriend. Again, and it depends on the social class and like where you go and hang out. But you literally, I know in the States it's just a novelty to meet people in the real world, but here it's very easy.
Okay.
Especially because you stand out.
My experience was in Budapest. So even though I'd passed through Serbia, I spent more time in Budapest. And a man stopped me. I was taking pictures of the parliament, that building at night. A man stopped me, took me out to eat, right? Okay, right? It is a place where men, it is that is a region of the world where men will talk. If you date men, men will talk to you and
yes, in the most kindest way and respectful way. So again, you have these tall, good-looking model-like type of men that will respectfully approach you and talk to you, and they're not going to exoticize you. They'll be like, oh wow, you're American, you're beautiful, like let's go out. So if you have more questions, just email me and I could
no don't email. Listen, no, if you have more questions, watch more videos.
Yes.
Blair has a whole YouTube channel, which I've linked
subscribe
to the website. But let me link to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe to my YouTube because I have a video about dating in Serbia as a Black woman. So
there you go.
My YouTube page.
We're not doing the you email me for free. We don't do that. Okay. Not but sure. we do watch my videos or book sessions with me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Thank
how
you. Watch my videos, book sessions. Yeah, because a lot of people do waste my time, so I don't want that.
So Serbia, Belgrade, and Novi Sad are party cities. They're party cities. Are you still in the party?
Okay, so the nightlife here is the best in Europe, I would have to say, because there are spaces for every budget. I like to go to high-end places. I'll say I'm very bougie, and I want to say party as in, again, with my boyfriend in that circle, we go to nice dinners and private places and party and have nice dinners. But there are nice clubs and lounges that I like to go to. And people are so welcoming. Like I go by myself and people talk to me. The women are welcoming. Just make sure you look like a model because people really bring it.
They do.
Literally. Like when I first went to this place called Lafayette, which is like a cabaret restaurant cuisine, I swear the women looked like supermodels. And I was just like, I mean, I think I'm pretty, but my goodness, I need to really step it up. So if you're going to go out, you think you're a 10, just take it to the next level.
It's very true. I took the public transportation in Serbia to go somewhere, and it must have been later than I wanted to go take some pictures of that church. The St. Simon Church. Right. I was going out at night to go take pictures of the church, and the women were getting on the train or the bus or whatever to go start their party evenings, and I'm like, oh, I'm not ready. I
wasn't ready when I first came here. I was like, oof, yeah. So people here like to party, and they're so nice, and they party very late at night. I like to go to bed at 3. Some places start, at 3, and I'm like, I can't. But it's a really nice nightlife, and it's safe. That's another thing. Before we end, it is the safest city I've ever lived in. No one's following you. No one's being some creeper. You can walk at early in the morning, in the middle of the night. No one is going to follow you. It's going to creep up on you. I mean, I lived in Singapore and I was followed in Singapore. When I was in New Zealand, I was creepily followed in New Zealand. Here, it is really safe.
So Novi Sad, how would you compare? So the only 2 cities I know in Serbia, are Belgrade and Novi Sad. How would you compare the 2 cities?
I took the train to Novi Sad. I have one friend that lives out there. I didn't get to spend significant amount of time, but it's a smaller city. There's a lot of history and things to see, but I'm a big city girl, so I prefer Belgrade.
Okay. And okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So let's finally, did I cover the dating, friends? I know you were asking a lot of questions. I feel like I covered the dating. Empress Wanderlust, are Black women dating wealthy expats abroad? You can. Okay.
You can. I'm dating a very wealthy man, so it's fun.
They're out there.
They're out there. They don't look like it. So true wealth people are not dress to designer stuff. So
Um,
those are nouveau rich, as my boyfriend says.
yes, I said that here. I'm in Bogota, and I was like, oh, we've crossed over from new money to old money. When we were walking down the street, we've
Yeah.
crossed into the old money section of Bogota. Okay. Yeah, YAS wants to know, can we talk about the proximity to Russia and how safe do you feel in Serbia?
Okay. My impression is, especially for men Americans, the way we paint Russia as this like big evil place, Russian people are not their government, just like Americans are not their government.
Yeah.
Serbia is unique because it has a friendly relationship with Russia, with
Okay.
Turkey, and other, I guess, strongman type of countries.
Okay.
And Serbia did welcome many Russians and Ukrainians. So
Mhm.
the political situation here in regards to international relationship is quite friendly and it's very safe. You don't need to worry about like being deported or someone trying. No, there's nothing to really worry about in regards to international relations.
You're not going to bed at night with missiles flying overhead.
No.
And okay, so when I was there, with 2016, there was a lot of people who were refugees from it's probably Syria back in 2016, and Serbia had a lot of,
Yeah.
and you
They
could see,
welcome a lot of people.
yeah, you could see the encampments, and you could see like the UN and the Serbian government,
Mm-hmm.
and had set up places for people and was like ushering people in and integrating
Exactly.
people and figuring out things. That was the first time I'd ever seen that, because in the US I'd never seen people. I don't know. I lived in Delaware. Ain't nobody crossing the border into Delaware, right? And so I'd never seen that, but I saw Serbia, and it looked, from my outside eyes, right, driving by, it looked like this was a place where they had decided they were going to take care of the people instead of just like
Yes.
either stop them from entering totally,
Yeah.
or sure, let them in, but we ain't gonna do nothing for you. You're on your own.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It looked
I
like
think
a country that
Serbia
was
is a very welcoming place. They have a long history of welcoming people. So again, Russia is a friendly partner. China is a very friendly partner. And you just can't look at global politics at the lens of American politics.
yeah, because to most of the world, the U.S. is the bad guy. I'm down with that. I understand that.
Yeah.
Before we go, one question about healthcare.
Yeah.
Have you accessed healthcare in Belgrade, and how is it?
So I actually did a video about this, healthcare as a Black woman. So you can see that on my channel. And I go to private clinics. So I really pay out of pocket. It's really the best thing, an option for me. When I went to the doctor, got a whole full up, it was cost me 200 euros. My
Okay.
boyfriend is friends with like the best gynecologist in the country. So I go to his practice. And I went to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned. Like people actually come to Serbia to get their teeth cleaned and fixed and all these dental work. So it's really affordable. And again, like Stephanie said, if you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. And I do have like a thorough breakdown of the video about healthcare in Serbia as foreign.
That's it. Okay, so I noticed that in your picture. I noticed that in your Tea Party pictures. Oh, they got good dental work here, right? I noticed that all the women, right? I'm like, the different places are different. Sometimes you go to places and a lot of the adults have braces, and you're like, oh, they do that here.
Yeah.
Whereas, some place you go and you're like, I wish Morocco, you're like, I wish they would do a little more. So that was a thing that I noticed just from looking in your picture. So $200 for the whole workup?
Yeah, for blood work, everything physical. I spent 40 euros for my teeth cleaning. I went to the eye doctor to get my contacts. So it's relatively affordable. They do have like an American hospital. They have private clinics here, just like many expat hubs. I don't go to like public hospitals and stuff. That's just, I'm a foreigner. Why?
That's right.
Once I get my residency, my card, I'll probably be able to tap into that. But right now, it's easier for me to just go to private clinics. Everyone also treats me with respect and kindness. They speak English. So for people, even if I want to give birth here, I don't think I have to worry about medical racism.
Right.
So it's just safe to be a Black woman here.
That's right. Good. Jackie, thank you for the super chat, Jackie. I hope you're still here. I'm sorry I didn't see it earlier. Jackie says, women over 60, can they retire more comfortably there than in the States? I think retirement is more comfortable for a lot of retirees financially. you can be more comfortable out of the US than in the US. And it's for this reason in particular, for the healthcare reason in particular. In the US, most people, I think, are a medical emergency away from losing everything. Whereas when you go to a place that has universal health care has universal health care, and where you can opt in to pay for private health care if you want, you have that safety net, which is what Blair called it earlier. You have that safety net. You don't have that fear of the looming.
My computer's gonna die.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I know how to take you. Let's see. We'll leave you on the screen. It's okay. Yeah, so that you have that safety net, which makes retirement less stressful, right? And then financially, it depends on where you live. If you live in Cleveland, right, paying $750 a month for rent might seem outlandish, right? We talked to a woman who lived in Cleveland. I think she said she paid $550 a month. Everybody was like, wait a minute. Write that down. But if you live in the Bay Area, $750 a month is going to really change your ability to change what your life looks like.
Yeah.
So everything is relative.
And I just want to say that you're going to live a much more healthier life because you're walking out more. You're at more peace. I like to live by body of water. You have the two major rivers here. Older people do work, but people are always moving. So I think the quality of life really contributes to your well-being, your happiness, the access to healthcare, and just moving a lot. So you could probably comfortably retire, but you'll see your health improve because, you're just the lifestyle. This city is designed, or many European cities are designed for humans, not just for cars.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that changes a lot. It changes a lot. The racist structure of we're gonna level some of these Black communities and put our super highways through these Black communities to divide Black and white changed everything. It didn't just change the geography. It changed our health. Yeah. It changed our lifespan, our life expectancy. It changed our quality of life. And that did not happen in other places. All right, food quality. Let's do some quick food quality.
Food is good. Just like most European cities, you're going to the grocery store or bakery every day, or at least the bakery every day. Okay. Going to the grocery store a couple of times a week. They don't have those GMOs and other like toxic ingredients that you would find in the US. I like to cook a lot, but if I go out, the food is good. Like you can actually taste. Food has taste here, So I think with Serbian food, like the traditional shabapi, like these like small little sausages, they have like little cabbage salads. So it's really healthy. And many Orthodox Christians, they have a fasting between Wednesdays and Fridays. So that means when it's fasting, like there's no animal products. So you have a lot of vegan stuff.
I didn't think about that.
When people are fasting, you can't have any animal products, no animal oils. So it's really like, for those that are like really do it, many places offer it. It's called Pozno. So you have a plethora of options of fresh, healthy food, affordable food, bakeries. I talk about this on my TikTok. Like people go to the bakery many times a week because bread is not supposed to last a week or 2 weeks.
Does not last.
Really strange.
It does not last. You be like, every time I forget that a lot when I leave the United States. That's the thing that I mess up the most when I leave the US. Buy some bread or buy some desserts and leave them on the counter. And then 2 days later, mold city. I'm like, I forgot. I'm not in the United States. They haven't poisoned the food here.
So the food quality is good, and you'll see that reflected in your overall health and your weight because you're eating good food. You're moving around a lot. And Serbia I think is one of the biggest exporter. I'm not sure if it's peaches in the world. So they export a lot of food to the EU and to other countries. But I think peaches, they're a big exporter of peaches.
Yeah, okay, good. Are you making an attempt to learn the language?
Yes. So when I came here, I thought people spoke Russian and I spoke some Russian. They're like, no. So Russian and Serbian is very similar. So I actually stream learning Serbian on my TikTok every day. So I do have some books and my followers are very happy to correct me and help me. So the attitude here is people say what they mean. There's no political correctness. If you ask, am I fat? People will tell you to your face. So just understand, and it's out of kindness. It's not malicious. So if they're being honest with you, they're genuinely being honest with you. And people are happy that I'm learning the language and trying.
Good. Okay, good. All right. Thank you so much. Is there any part of life in Serbia that you think we didn't cover that you would like to shout out?
I just want to say smoking. People do smoke here a lot. There's a lot of indoor smoking. So think like early 2000s restaurant smoking. They are trying to phase that out, but that's something you need to be prepared for. I wasn't ready for, but I'm used to it now. So a lot of the clubs, the restaurants, the bars, indoor smoking is very much a thing here.
Good. Okay. France surprised me how many people in France still smoke. I'm like, what year is this? Walking down the street and you're just like, oh,
yeah, no, that's outside. Imagine indoors, especially the wintertime and stuffy. No, it's smoke central.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you kindly. Okay, so I've linked to Blair's website, Blair in Belgrade.
Yes. And also YouTube, follow me there because I do talk about the healthcare, the dating. I talked, I did a video yesterday about the housing. So if you want to live your best life, subscribe to my channel and see my website. You can book a session with me if you want to relocate to Serbia.
Your relocation services, how certain does someone need to know that they want to come to Serbia in particular for your relocation services to be helpful?
So I do work with the legal team. So I would prefer someone that's quite certain. Like after watching all my videos and my content, there is a fee just to talk with me, just to walk you through before I make a decision to permanently relocate.
All right. Okay. And Anita says, sounds like a trip will be fun.
Yeah, sure. I can help you plan a trip. So if you want to do a group trip or solo trip, I have partnerships with different properties and different hotels in the city. So I'll recommend the best hotels. I know all the best restaurants, nightclubs, and I know some tour guides that can give you a personal tour. So you can book that with me as well.
Good, good. Okay, thank you very much. So friends, this region, the Balkans, hopefully we'll talk more and more about it. I've heard Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, also a beautiful city. We know that Croatia has some beautiful cities, including cities on the sea, on the ocean, on the
seaside, yeah.
Seaside. Montenegro, beautiful. So I hope that we can add these places to our list and scout them out and see what's what. If you have no idea where to start, Exodus Summit has a quiz. Which country should I move to quiz? Go ahead and take the quiz, exodussummit.com/quiz. Take the quiz, see what types of places pop up. And then go from there. Do your research, do your Googles, do your scouting, get to some places. I think sometimes you don't know how good a place is going to fit until you get there and you feel it. When you get to go to a place and be treated like a human being,
a beautiful human being,
and experience their emphasis, their value on nature, their emphasis on family time, their emphasis on slowing down. Places feel really good once you get get to the place. So let's make some plans to scout out some places that sound interesting to us. Okay. Okay. Thank you. As always, I went super long, but thank you so much, Blair.
Thank you so much. It was a really, really nice live. And I think you hit some really solid points. I'm glad I could talk about those corporate expat types because they do very much exist. And if you're a nomad and maybe you might come across them. So it's just good to be prepared. Like if you come across someone that's being very nosy or microaggressive, what to expect.
Yes, what to expect. I see you, Salim, what about when we're children? If children live in a place, your children can live in the place, right? I don't know that there's anything extra that we can contribute to that conversation, except that children live there.
Children are loved here. This society is designed for families. So just keep that in mind. If you want to raise your kids here, there's schools here, there's parks here. Kids are playing outside till 10 o'clock at night. It's very safe here.
Yeah, children live there. They thrive there. Your kids can live there. They can thrive there. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much, Blair. Okay, friends. Thank you. Do we have anything to announce? Nothing to announce. Okay.